What's up, Squadron? Aviation has given me a ton of amazing experiences. And more importantly, it's introduced me to a whole new family of friends. Join us tonight because we're cleared direct for some hangar flying. I'm Ryan Dembroski, and this is SuperAero Live. What is up, Av Geeks? Did you make it through the YouTube outage? Aviation nerds? Hopefully it's working. It says you're in here. It says you're watching. This is amazing. Everything's amazing. All right. Thanks to YouTube for fixing that in time for the show. I sent one message like, guys, you got to do it just for me. Specifically for me and our guest tonight. You need to to fix the outage. So... you guys know everything that you gotta do that I always ask, and people on Facebook are saying that it's lame when YouTubers ask, but I gotta, subscribe, sharing is huge for the show. Sharing is really big, and a big thanks to all the Patreon supporters of the SuperAero Squadron that support the channel. You guys are the best. You saw those names in the beginning. Those people, man, they make this possible. They bought the table. All right, anyway... I don't want to goof around too much. I want to get right into our conversation tonight because I'm really pumped to have our guest tonight. Everybody, check it out. What button do I press? There he is. There he is. It's Mel Williams. What's up, buddy?
What's going on, my brother? How you doing?
Things are good. Whoa. Right away, people are pumped. Jonathan with the super chat. Jonathan, man, that's awesome. Thanks. I'm glad you were excited about tonight. We didn't even start talking. That's great. All right, so
yeah, I know.
Mel the Traveler is your persona. I've been following you on Instagram for I don't know, forever. It feels like. You're kind of you're like an what I would say. I feel like you're like an aviation heavy hitter. Because you're like, it was like, what was it, 2 weeks ago we had Savannah Rasky on the show, and I know you guys know each other.
Yeah,
you guys are, you never rest. Like, you're doing everything in aviation. So I'm wondering if we could just kick it off, if you could tell everyone, if they haven't heard of you or don't know you, just who are you? What do you do?
Oh, man, where do I start? So I'm Mel Williams, and I am a av geek. I've been in aviation for 14 years now. Recently, I joined the pilot ranks. Before that, I started out as a mechanic. So, man, I don't know. That's like the quick version.
I love it. I love it. So, okay, so let's... if I could itemize it just for people who don't know, like you said, aviation mechanic, you're working on 737s. Like it's like the real thing is you're doing real things.
Yeah.
And
so
then, tell us about that. Let's start there.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
No, let's go for it.
Yeah. So my day job is, I'm an aircraft maintenance instructor, and I teach the 737 to mechanics. I travel, I teach. It's great. It's fantastic. So yeah, I got that going for me for my 9 to 5, which is nice.
That 9 to 5 does not suck. That sounds super cool.
Great.
That's like everyone in the chat right now. That's like their dream job probably is to work on jets and then go home and fly.
Right.
Killing it.
Yeah, man. I try to stay busy.
Well, and this is the thing, between you and Savannah, I'm going to be straight with you. I watch your Instagram feed, and there's this weird, I don't know if it's jealousy, but I get frustrated. I'm like, oh, Mel's doing another super cool thing today, and I'm not doing that. So I mean that in a positive way. You guys are always, you're just totally going for it. So here, let me ask you this. Let's start here. You, Can you walk me through, like, obviously, if you've been you said you're like a self-proclaimed like aviation nerd, av geek, like, take me back to like where does that start? Like, where's the kernel of that story? I think we all have this like one story, right? What's the story for you?
The story for me, pretty much. So I was, born and raised in Brooklyn, New York, and crazy. Not too far away from JFK. So every morning I'd be getting ready to go to elementary school, and I'd hear jets taking off, and I mean every single morning it was it just became intriguing to me. I'm like, man, what the hell is that? So one morning, the sound was different. I was like, man, that is that like a fighter jet or whatever? It actually happened to be the Concorde. The Concorde was screaming out of JFK, either on its way to Great Britain or London or France, because the Concorde, Air France had one, and then British Airways had one. So I just thought it was the coolest thing. And fast forward to high school. When it was time for me to go to high school, I found this high school in Queens, New York, Long Island City, to be exact. And the name of it was Aviation High School. And I'm like, man, it can't get any better than this. And initially, I wanted to go to be a pilot. And once I get there for freshman orientation, I realized, I'm like, I don't think this is a pilot school. I'm seeing a lot of airplanes that are like in pieces and broken apart and engines everywhere and stuff. I'm like, so then I quickly found out that it was a school for aircraft maintenance, which wasn't as good as what I initially thought, but it ended up working out. So I went to high school, and when I graduated, I had my A&P at 18. So
what?
Yeah.
I mean, that's that's amazing.
Yeah. So I've been an A&P since 2006.
And so, and we're going to talk about loops and roles in a little bit, but so you graduate with an A&P, and then like, what's the road? I said that like I was Canadian. I just sounded like Flight Chops. The road, sorry, I don't know. I don't do good accents. What's the road to? What's the road? I can't say the word road without laughing now. What's the road from A&P, like fresh out of high school, to working on like 737s? Like, I'm assuming that's a fair amount of like career effort to get to like the majors where you're teaching other mechanics like how to do this.
Well, I'd have to say the road wasn't that long for me. I'm probably one of the lucky ones. So out of New York, the airlines, the major airlines, hire a lot of students or graduates, I should say, from my high school. So, I mean, there's tons of us that, some of us work for JetBlue, some of us work for Delta, some of us work for American, some of us work for United. And they hire a lot of us. So what happened was I went to college, Dowling College out in Long Island, to be exact. I went there for literally a semester. I came back in the dorm room one night after work. So dig this. So I ended up getting a work study job at the college. It was a flight school that I went to. And I ended up getting a work study job as a mechanic. So I always joke about it because, I'm getting the same pay as someone who's like a library attendant or like a gym attendant or something like that. But I'm working on airplanes. But they couldn't pay me, as a full-time employee or even a part-time employee because, it's a conflict of interest and all this other stuff. So I said, you know what, it's fine. It's experience. So one night, just randomly, I came back to my dorm room and I started applying for jobs. And I got lucky. And then I ended up moving back to the city from Long Island, New York, back to New York City and working at JFK, where the colonel, like you said, started. So
that's pretty cool. And by the way, everyone in the chat is like blown away by this A&P at 18 thing. Aved says, the dream A&P at 18. Waukesha pilot, who's up by me, says that's unheard of. And then separately, Connie in the chat, she's just throwing a little shade. She says, weird, you didn't say Frontier.
Oh man. Well, we didn't get Frontier at JFK, so.
There you go. See, diplomatically answered. All right. So
Yeah.
so then okay, so that's like now you're like working at JFK. What's the when do you finally and I mean I don't mean finally like it took you too long, but like when do you make the because for me for instance like I spent my whole went through college, went through all this stuff, just like I want to be a pilot, I want to be a pilot, I want to be a pilot. It took like some dramatic life events for me to finally be like, I'm in, like I'm ready to commit. Like, what was that moment for you where you're working it? You're already like, as people in the chat are saying, right? You're already like in the dream in terms of like having an aviation career. Like, when does it go now? When do you make the jump to pilot Mel?
So fast forward. So I started my career in aviation in the majors, of course, in 2007. So fast forward to 2000 and probably the end of 16, somewhere like December. That sounds about right. So what happened was I was now working in Atlanta as a line mechanic. So I worked Atlanta line for a little bit, and I got a gate call. You know, it's a true story. Well, not that I would lie to you, but I'm just saying. So I got a gate call. I was sitting in the office and like, hey, you know, there's, you know, captain calling about, you know, this MD-88 that's out there or whatever. Okay, cool. So I run outside. I walk into the flight deck, and the captain looks at me. He goes, man, you're a young looking guy. You ever thought about flying? I looked at him and I'm like, nah, long time ago, you know, the ship has sailed. You know, he was like, well, why not? You know, a lot of us old farts can be retiring soon. And you know, you should think about it. And I said, yeah, whatever. So I got his problem solved and, you know, off he went. So maybe about a week later, I saw the same guy again. And he said the same thing again. Hey, man, you started flying yet? And I'm like, nope, not yet. He's like, yeah, you know, you should really get into it. Nah, it's all right. So off he went. And then maybe about 3 weeks later, it was very short after, I saw him again. I said, you know what, maybe this is a sign. So we exchanged numbers. He said he'd put out a couple of feelers on Facebook for me and see if anybody, you know, responds to him that can, you know, take me on an intro flight or something like that. And he called me maybe the next week and said, hey, I got somebody, you know, is willing to take you on if you're still interested. And I said, yeah, absolutely. So I set it up and had my intro flight. And when we landed, you know, the instructor said to me, so what do you want to do? And I said, man, I want to keep going. So, and then the rest was history. I ended up getting my private, my instrument, my commercial, my multi, and now CFI. So I got cursed.
I mean, it's a good curse to have.
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely.
Do you still keep up with that? Do you still stay in touch with that pilot?
We're friends on Facebook. Every now and again, I'll text him, you know, showing him the new cool stuff that I'm doing, you know, kind of, you know, because it's cool, like, you know, because if I'd have never met him, you know, I may not even be here as far as, you know, being a pilot at least.
Sure.
So it, you know, so I try to keep him updated as best as I can.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's super cool.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Jacob in the chat was kind of agreeing with you. He's saying he thinks that's the biggest setback in aviation is the initial start. It's getting that push.
Right.
So that's cool that you had someone give you that push. So and you went in like hard. Like I'm sitting here just, you know, almost, oh my goodness, I've been flying for almost 10 years. And I'm still just that private pilot, like VFR man, right? And you're an instructor, you got multi, you got all that stuff. Was your initial goal to head towards the airlines, to stay in that world, or are you just like, I'm in it, I'm sucking up all the knowledge?
So it's funny you asked that. So initially, you know, I just wanted to be a pilot. So I'm like, all right, well, I'll get my private or whatever and see what happens. People talking about this instrument stuff, instrument, flying in the clouds. I'm like, I just want to be able, to run out on a weekend, go grab a plane and go fly, or, some afternoon or some morning and go fly. That was my initial deal. And I did that. I got my private, and I really wasn't interested in the instrument. It was in the back of my mind. I'm like, okay, well, what's next? But I just was having fun flying. I was taking friends and family and just going out, flying to different places, going to get food and stuff. And then I started watching other people, I got my instrument and I'm watching videos online, people reading clearances and stuff. I'm like, wow, that looks really cool. All right, fine. So I jumped into that, and, the rest was history on the instrument. But about the airlines, it's funny because, people ask me that all the time. Like, man, I see you're working so hard, you're flying. Is your goal to be an airline pilot? And I don't know. I still think about it. I don't know if it's for me. Just the lifestyle, the lifestyle of picking up and going and, not really being home, especially now I have a little one. I start really thinking about that. Like, I want to be around.
Yeah, that's
huge. And, right. And initially again, you got to put your time in. So I'd have to go work for a regional, and then put my time in there. And then I have to basically start over as far as, holidays and weekends and stuff like that and being home. So I constantly think about it. I think it'll be cool, but is it something I want to do? I don't know yet. I really just kind of like the freedom of, rolling out of bed, like, looking through the window, sun is shining, winds are pretty nice and calm. And yeah, let me go grab the airplane and just, kind of do my own thing. And I feel like, the airline pilot route is great. I commend those guys, and I have a lot of friends that are airline pilots, but I mean, the sacrifice those guys make, initially, you're kind of like out of commission for like the first 4 years, basically, maybe even longer. It all depends on the industry, So do I want to miss 4 years of not being around my kids' first steps and, school and soccer games, baseball games and all the other stuff? I don't know, So I guess I'll cross that bridge when I get there. But right now I'm just having fun flying.
Dude, you're going through the same thought process I was going through. So I want to say I was getting, this is insane, by the way, like maybe 3 years ago or so. I feel like because it's pre-COVID and everything, like, the pilot shortage is looming. I was actually getting like emails, like LinkedIn messages, emails from recruiters at regionals saying, hey, we saw you have your private pilot. Like, you ever want to be an airline pilot?
Yeah.
And that like seductive call, right? And it's the same thing, right? Like, you're like, oh man, like I've worked so hard in my career to get to this point. Do I want to like hit the reset button? And like, and the scary thing for me was I was like, yeah, I kind of do.
Right.
But I think we're wrestling with the same thing. Something funny happened in the chat. People were talking about how great it was that you had your A&P before you started learning to fly. Vincent said, the great advantage of being A&P and learning to fly is that you can ace the systems part of your exam. And the funny part was that Marty then followed up with, okay, DPE. Okay, let's talk about systems next. Mel, lol, here's my A&P cert. Are we good? Was it like that? Was it kind of like that? Or
I mean, no.
No?
Okay. No. It definitely wasn't like that. I mean, know your audience, right? So, I mean, once you find a pretty, good DP, you have a tendency to stick with them and stuff like that. And, after a while they learn you, they know your credentials and but no, they definitely go into systems for sure. And try to like, see what I know and stuff like that. And, I will say this, it's different. So leading into that, that question or that statement, a lot of people ask me, Do you work on your own? Do you work on your own airplane? Do you work on your own airplane? Oh, it must be cheap for you to maintain it because you could do a lot of that stuff yourself. Absolutely. But I don't. Not right now. You know, you got to think about it. So right after I basically went to A&P school or high school, which I did a lot of this stuff in magneto timing and, you know, doing, you know, working on pistons and radials and stuff like that. I haven't done that since high school because when I graduated, I went right into the airlines and I've been working on big jets and stuff like that. And granted, a lot of stuff is similar, but, you know, I don't know. I take off my cowling. I'm like, man, I haven't seen this stuff in a long time, you know, magnetos and all this other stuff. I don't really know what the hell is going on, to be honest.
You're like,
I can
what is
figure
this?
it out.
What is this dark magic that?
It's just so ancient to me. I'm like, you know, now granted, it's obviously more simple. Like I can tell you, you know, the fuel system on the 737 and how the hydraulic systems work. Obviously, way more complicated than just cables and pulleys and rods and stuff like that. But you know, it's just unfamiliar territory. So the moment right now, I don't. I mean, I do my own oil changes and stuff like that. You know, easy stuff. But as far as like annuals or 100-hour inspect, well, I can't do an annual anyway because I'm not an IA, or I can't sign it off. But you know, 100 hours and stuff like that. So the answer to that is no. But I am going to be working with qualified individuals who know what they're doing. I know a lot of people out there, they're like really sharp with decathlons and fabrics and, you know, stuff like that. So I'll be working with those guys. And then when I get up to speed, then eventually I'll be doing my own thing. So.
I just want to say that I really respect that separately, right? Like it's a matter of like knowing. I feel like NTSB reports are filled with airline pilots, for instance, making overconfident decisions in the small, like their smaller personal aircraft that, you know, like, well, I could pull my 737 through this weather, but you can't take your Bonanza through it or whatever, or something like that.
Right. Yeah. It's true.
You just got offered, I don't know how this works if you're a CFI, but you just got offered a flight review because are you in Atlanta still? Nathan Ballard is a guy who's on this show, and he offers everyone a free flight review.
No, really? Well, I mean, I just got mine, so I mean, I'm, you know, I would need a flight review 2 years from now in September of 2022. That's cool.
I love it. Nathan's always like he said to me like, dude, you get to Atlanta, I got you covered. I was like, what? Okay, cool, let's do it. So we gotta talk about, I feel like you and we could talk about like every step of your journey thus far is like super interesting to me, super fascinating. But I want to talk about, you're actually wearing a sweatshirt, so people are asking about it. Let's talk about this camera angle, I can't read the N number, but let's talk about, was it 5549 Kilo? Is that your new aircraft?
Yeah. That's the Decathlon. So I got a Decathlon. So initially what happened was, I've been wanting to, do some more interesting flying. Not to say that, somebody said, did I hear Decathlon? Yeah, you did. So here's what happened with that. So going back to the CFI that I got my private with, the one who basically introduced me, not the captain, but his buddy who took me for that discovery flight. He's got an RV-8, and one day I was at the airport and he was pulling it out and said, "Hey man, you want to go for a ride?" And I said, "Yeah, sure." It's a little toy airplane, these little RVs. First time I'd seen one, like, man, what the hell is that? But it looked cool, So I jumped in the back and we went flying. And he said, "Yeah, man, you can, roll these things and stuff like that." Yeah, sure. So he did one and I was hooked. I mean, I still have the video from it. And the minute he did it, I was like, oh man, I'd love to do this stuff all the damn time. And, so one thing leads to another. So, I came home all excited. Oh man, I want to, fly in more airplanes, that can do loops and tricks and stuff like that. So I sit on the couch flipping channels. and ESPN comes on, and the Red Bull Air races are on.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you're familiar with that. Yeah, so
yeah, for sure.
So the Red Bull Air race is on. I'm looking. I'm like, holy crap! These guys are nuts. They're flying these airplanes like 50 feet off of the ground, in between pylons and stuff. It looks crazy. It looks almost fake. And then I was like, I want to do that. I told myself I want to get into that. So I started doing some research and started looking up all these people and their credentials. And, these people like, leaders of like their squadrons in the military, or like really, 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 world famous, aerobatic pilots. So I was like, okay. So I'm not in the military. Oh, by the way, a happy Veterans Day to anybody who's a veteran in here.
That's a good point. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you. But yeah, so I said, well, what is the route that I would need to take to get into this? And, a lot of it was aerobatics. A lot of these guys like Mike Goulian and Kirby Chambliss and, so on and so forth. These guys are like aerobatic gods, So I said, okay, cool. So I need to get into that. So I started reaching out to people who I knew. And I started doing some aerobatics, some light aerobatics. I was being trained by CFI down here in the Atlanta area. And we started off, typical stuff, loops, rolls, spins, and, just getting a feel for it. And I was like, man, I got to get me something like this. And I fell in love with the Citabria Decathlon, the American champion stuff. And, that's really where it started. Probably a year ago, I told myself, I said, man, I want a decathlon. No matter what I have to do to get one, I got to get one. And the dream came true. And here I am, flying a decathlon. It's crazy.
And I think you actually sent me some footage. I don't know if this is your decathlon or if it's another Citabria.
That's the Citabria that I started training in. So my instructor's behind me. You can't see me because of where you can't see him because where I have the camera. But yeah, so that was exactly what I was talking about. Starting off in a Citabria, and we were doing some light stuff, and it was great. It was awesome. I try to do it at least like 2 times a week just to, stay sharp and get a feel for it. Yeah, that's cool.
There's a little extra connection. I'll say I grew up probably, I don't know, 3 miles from the factory that they built your airplane in. If it was built by American Champion, if it's not a Belanca or whatever.
It is a Belanca.
Okay, so then it's not your airplane, but like American Champion in Rochester, Wisconsin. I literally grew up watching them fly over my head.
Wow.
A little hometown pride with your aircraft selection there. And for folks who haven't flown a Citabria or a Decathlon, like, obviously, like you can see from this video, right, the visibility is pretty I mean, it's tandem seating. I think a lot of people don't fly tandem. Visibility is great. Yeah. Mm-hmm. How would you compare it for someone? I think you're about to do something cool here in the video. How would you compare it to other stuff in your training? There you go.
Yeah, that's a spin right there. Doing some spins, fun stuff, man. So the question was, you said, how do I compare it to other training?
Well, sorry. So for instance, like most pilots in the chat are probably 172 pilots or Cherokee pilots or something, right? So how would you compare for someone who has no experience? If you had to describe to another pilot what it's like to fly the Decathlon or Citabria, like what's the difference?
I don't know. Like, I feel when I'm flying a Decathlon, I'm strapped in, especially I have the whole 5-point hooker harness set up. I don't know. I feel one with the airplane. It's not side by side. I feel like I'm in full control of it, and it's a great feeling. So, and it's weird. Plus, it's a tail dragger. If any tail dragging guys in here, that's an experience in itself. And once you go tail dragging, it's hard to go back to tricycle gear. But it's a fun experience. The airplane flies different. Your sight picture is different because you're on the center line as opposed to, being offset one way or another, whether you're sitting in the left seat or right seat on a 172 or something else. But man, I don't know. Like, and plus the biggest thing for me is the stick. You kind of get that, it's like the Top Gun dream comes true a little bit, instead of having a control column or a yoke and stuff like that you're messing with, you got a stick and power over here. It kind of feels like, I mean, you can imagine that you're in a fighter jet, going really, really, really slow, but, it's a different experience. I'd choose a decathlon over almost anything at the moment. As far as GA goes. Yeah.
For sure. And I think I will totally agree with you on the stick thing. That's like whatever I end up in next, that's just like almost requirement number one. Just want to feel it's part of the fighter pilot fantasy, right?
Yeah, it is. Absolutely.
And you've got the decathlon, which actually like cruises fairly quickly too, compared to like some of the early Citabrias, right? Or maybe not. I don't know. I don't know what I'm talking about.
That's a good question. The Citabria flies better because of the wing. The decathlon wing is semi-symmetrical, so it's a little bit more round on the top than it is the bottom. So the Citabria is a better flying airplane just in general, just because just aerodynamically the way the wing is built. The decathlon flies better because of the semi-symmetrical wing inverted. So the decathlon would be a better choice for aerobatics as opposed to a Citabria. So that's the big difference. Now, as far as engines go, my decathlon is not a super decathlon. It's just a decathlon. So it's 150 horsepower, fixed pitch. And Citabrias, unless you have a 7 ECA, I believe, they're all 150 fixed pitch. So, the engine is pretty much the same. It just doesn't have the inverted fuel and oil systems on the Citabria, unless you have a 7K CAB. So it can get real, get into numbers and years and all types of stuff. It can get real involved, but yeah. Citabria is a great flying airplane. But if you're doing like aerobatics and stuff like that, you probably want something along the lines of a decathlon for that inverted system, so your engine doesn't shut off when you go inverted. And then when you're inverted, it flies better inverted because of the design of the wing. Yeah. Gotcha.
I think. There was a Citabria for sale at our field recently, and I was like, ooh, loops.
Yeah, you can do them. Hell yeah, you can do them, man.
So, by the way, someone, Ricardo, says he's flying with you Friday.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so Ricardo, one of my buddies down here in Atlanta, I'm working with him on finishing up his tail wheel. He had started a long time ago when he was in college. Just giving him the refresher. He's, getting back up to speed. He's a natural. He's a perfectionist, I should say. So he's always up for a challenge and stuff, and he's doing great. So he should be finished up shortly.
That's awesome. That's super awesome. Yeah. Also, Jacob said he did spins. The video of the spin triggered it for him. He did spins for the first time today, and he loves them. Good job, wow. Jacob.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Don't forget to, run the pair through your head for the spin recovery. So many times that it's like automatic, not just sitting there, okay, the power comes off. All right, what's next? Oh, aileron's neutral. All right, what's next? Oh, opposite rudder and forward stick. And then, like bam, 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 bam. Just that's the way it should be, one of those things.
Yeah, actually, I haven't done spins since my primary training, so it's probably should get into something that I can do them in and do that stuff again. The other thing, I was gonna make a joke, and then my brain went to a different place. But then now the chat is making Eric's Like you were talking about, like all the different like model letters.
Exactly.
Like
there it is right there.
that's my only feedback for American Champion. If you're watching, is like that is super confusing.
He missed one. He probably meant to put GCAA.
There it is.
Yep. See, there it is. Yeah. Yep. GCAA. That's right. It's Citabria, 150 horse fixed pitch, no flaps. Yeah. GCBC has the flaps, which is nice for like short strips and stuff like that, bush flying and that type of stuff. Get real nice and slow and drop in short strips all over the place.
Man, a lot of love for the decathlon. Tango and Juliet, who are going to be on the show next week. I guess Tango flew a decathlon today.
There you go.
So man,
great,
everyone's
man.
flying decathlons.
It's awesome, man. It's yeah, and soon I'm going to paint and recover it. Maybe like another year and a half from now, and put my own paint scheme and change the end number and all of that. It's going to be like my little thing, pull it out every now and again. And
oh, sorry to interrupt you. I think you I think you sent me a picture of it, right?
Yeah.
It's not. This is probably that same training aircraft, I'm guessing.
No. This is mine.
This is yours. Okay, rad.
Yeah. That's mine. I may have sent you a picture with the outside. Maybe not.
Yeah, let me find it here. I think you did.
But it's
dramatic in black and white. But I'm
it
assuming
is, isn't it?
But it's back there.
It's back there.
That's so cool, man. Did you have? Were you? There were. I also saw a ton of videos and content that you used to make of some sort of like low-wing. Was it a Cherokee? Did you own that? Did you like trade in, or was this a first? Are you a first-time aircraft owner right now?
So you're probably talking about the Musketeer. Probably.
Oh, maybe. Yeah. That's probably what it was.
Yeah. So as far as, excuse me, water's making me. Anyway, as far as the Musketeer goes, it's 4 of us that own it. So I have a quarter share in ownership of the Musketeer. I got that back in February of, was it this year? Yeah, February of this year actually. I actually got that one to time build. This is oh, thanks, man. I appreciate it. I got it to time build. This is pre-COVID, before COVID really hit and stuff like that. Of course, everything started shutting down. But, I wanted to get to that 1,500 marker just in case I decided to go into the airline. So just to give myself that option. So I was like flying it, like every day if I could. And I had fun with it. I would take it places and, just go out there and put an hour or 2 or maybe more a day on it. But now, since I slowed down on that, COVID slowed everything down. So there's really no rush to get to 1,500 anymore because, at least as far as I'm concerned, I have a little bit of time. And me having my CFI now, I can build time for free and just kind of mess around with the decathlon and start, getting into that. But I still have the ownership in the Musketeer. I'm actually thinking about selling it, selling my share, just because I just don't fly it as much. And I think as far as time building goes, it would be better fit for someone else who may still have that mission. But my mission slightly changed a bit. So, yeah.
So, and we're gonna finish out the hour talking about that kind of mission shift. But I don't know. The internet, live internet is live internet. Waukesha Pilot wants to know more about your Mercedes.
Yeah, it's a 2013 C300. Yeah,
awesome.
I bought it actually when I was working in New York for a brief stint, and I drove it down, and I love that thing. Car is great.
That was a cool trip.
Good. Yeah. So.
And then separately, Steph Strickland just hit the chat, and is excited to be here.
Oh, cool. Steph is the greatest, man. She's awesome. She is fantastic.
Absolutely. Cool. Okay, so let's talk. So the latest thing I've seen you talk about, and I'm going to find the picture here. This is, I think, more recent. This is like maybe a week ago or something.
Yeah,
You,
yeah.
you've been working towards a new goal. What's the new goal?
So the new goal is to start competing. So I want to start practicing aerobatics and like make it a part of me. So when I take an airplane out, instead of going out in time building and stuff like that, I'll take it out and go, work on maneuvers and stuff like that, perfecting rolls, perfecting loops, perfecting spins, and stopping on a certain heading and stuff like that, so I can prepare myself to. I want to compete in the IAC in the near future. And then just a lot of this is really just testing the waters. Am I hard set on becoming an aerobatic show pilot or whatever? I'd like to, but I want to do it right. I don't want to rush it. I don't want things to go south for me.
Right.
If you know what I mean. So I'm just taking my time, learning, perfecting the craft, being really engulfed in it. So this picture, talking about it, I went out to Alabama to Greg Kuntz's 2-day basic aerobatic course. So that's Greg Kuntz there in the back. Everybody knows Greg Kuntz, especially if you have a decathlon, especially if you do aerobatics. He's like the man with the decathlons, Tabris, that type of stuff. Now that I'm back, I'm going to start doing that stuff. So you'll be seeing videos of me doing that soon in the near future. Like I mentioned before, I want to compete in primary aerobatic competitions with the IAC, see how I do with that, see how it feels, and then maybe up the ante to sportsman and see how I do with that. And then once I have some experience and comfortability under my belt, then I may try the airshow scene and start working on my own routines and starting to put sequences and stuff like that together of my own, what I think looks cool, and coming up with my own niche, whatever that may be, and maybe try to enter the airshow world and see how that works out.
When you watch air shows, I'm just gonna leave this picture up because it's so epic. Everyone is like, "That's such an epic, freaking sweet pic," says Eric.
Thanks. Thanks.
When you watch, I'm just curious about this. Like, when you watch aerobatic routines and air shows, is there a style that you personally gravitate towards enjoying more?
You mean person or?
Well, I guess I should have qualified that question a little bit better. I think, for instance, with me, I tend to gravitate towards more like the energy management routines than the like, look at this Lumshavak, look at this crazy. I don't know. Respect those things. I respect the pilots can pull that stuff off, and I respect some of the routines that are built on just like, power, right?
Yeah.
But I'm curious what your side of it is. Like, do you lean one way or the other, like power management or energy management, or more like aggressive stuff?
I think that I have a newfound respect for energy management. So I might have to say that because it's a lot more difficult than you think. So going back to this picture here again, telling a story. So my airplane is fixed pitch. So meaning I have to manage, my power because I don't want to overspeed my propeller, as opposed to a super decathlon that's a constant speed. They set it 25 squared or something like that, right? 25 on the prop, 25 manifold pressure or whatever. And they go and they're not worried about it. They're two hands on the stick, whatever the case is. But for me, doing a lot of these maneuvers and stuff like that, I'm worried about my RPM. So as I'm diving into, a maneuver to get some airspeed, my RPM starts to creep up. So I have to pull it back a little bit, so I have a newfound respect for energy management because there were a couple of maneuvers that I'm doing. I just didn't have enough smash, as they call it, to complete it. So you start to learn the little, things. And, so going back to what you were saying, I've seen routines with it's either a Cub or something like that loses like the aileron. They're up there, they shut the engine off and they're just managing energy. you know, just diving and doing stuff, diving again and doing stuff. So it's that's pretty cool. Now, of course, everybody loves power. I mean, you get a screaming, you know, F-16 or an F-18 when the Blue Angels are screaming by, or a 35 or a F-22, something like that. It's cool as hell. I mean, it's all cool to me. But I think, you know, you really learn how to fly when, especially, like I said, I've seen routines where guys shut the engine off at 3,000 feet and manage the energy all the way down. And it's that is amazing. So I may have to agree with you on that one.
I hope I didn't lead you that way too much, but yeah, man.
Oh, no, because I have a personal experience, like I said, going back to that photo, with energy management, and it's not easy. It's not easy at all. Yeah. So.
Sure. And people are agreeing with us. Of course, they have to, because it's our show right now. 782 Papa says that you should do your show in the Decathlon, because he thinks that aerobatics done with the wing are more graceful than with the engine. But he also built an RV, so you know that's a you could do sports. What do they call it? Like sportsman level aerobatics.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah,
in that,
I've seen RVs do air shows, and I mean they perform very well. You know, they're light. A lot of them, you know, have like, you know, 180, 200 horsepower and stuff like that. So I mean, they're very, very, very capable of doing plenty of things.
What's your? I was gonna save this for a little game at the end of the show, but like, have you been workshopping like a? Have you been workshopping like a routine name or like an aircraft name or something? Like, you know, some of the air show acts are like, oh, it's like the Screaming Eagle or whatever. Like, are you brainstorming anything like that yet, or is that too far down the road?
Yeah, I was about to say, man, I haven't even gotten that far yet, man. I'm, you know, I'm struggling trying to, you know, come out of a hammerhead and turn that into a loop, and then the end of that turn it into a roll. You know, that's what I'm working on now. You know, hammerhead, managing that into a loop, and then rolling after and stuff. So I have no idea as far as what the act is going to be, or what, you know, I'm going to call myself, or, you know. Now, the airplane name, because of the colors, white and red, I don't know. One day I walked in my hangar. I was like, oh, it looks like a peppermint. I guess I'll go with that. So the airplane's name right now is unofficially Peppermint.
I dig it. That's cool. My airplane's name is Uncle Victor.
Uncle Victor. Really?
It's 4 Uniform Victor is the end of the tail number, and so everyone calls it Uncle Victor. There's a off the books, not for the show conversation about what kind of nose art should be on Uncle Victor. It's a whole separate conversation. Connie can tell the people in the chat. Connie and Marty can tell them. I'll just tell it. I was saying, instead of like, you know, the voluptuous, you know, like World War II woman, we should have like a 70s like short shorts, like mustache uncle. Like I'm trying to, the guy's like he's escaping me right now. Like, you know, like all those like dudes in those, I can't remember the guy's name.
Yeah.
Crap. Help me out, Connie, in the chat. I don't know. I was thinking we could put like, you know, short shorts, like looking kind of skeezy with like the adult movie mustache, and like put that on the side of the airplane. Funnily enough, none of my partners took that as a they didn't like that suggestion.
No, man, that sucks. It sounds pretty good to me. It's different, man. Hey, it's an eye catcher, man. If I was walking and I saw that on the side, like, oh wow, that's pretty cool. I might have to take a picture next to it.
You'd at least take a picture. I would
at least take a picture. Absolutely.
You'd at least take a picture.
Yeah.
Well, Jonathan says Mel the Aerobat.
Mel the Aerobat. Makes me sound like a superhero or something like that.
I mean, you kind of are. If you're doing aerobatics. Come on, man.
I don't know. It's going to take a while, but whenever it hits, it's going to hit. But I have
you'll know.
Right
you'll
now,
know.
It's just Mel. Yeah. I
love it.
I'm going to have to come up with something different, though, you know.
It was Tom Selleck. Yeah, Tom Selleck.
Tom Selleck, yeah. There you go.
Put him on. Put him on. This is the pantomime of applying the
Yeah.
nose art to the aircraft. Everyone's like screaming, "Tom Selleck!"
Tom Selleck. Yeah.
Anyway. All right. So before we wrap up for the night, this has been awesome. Oh, I have one other question from Instagram. I promised I would ask. So I posted on Instagram if anyone had any questions for you. And Kevin Quinn, a.k.a. Stole Pilot, says,
he actually started following me today.
He said, I need to ask you when you're going to come fly and land on mountaintops with him.
Oh, my God.
So,
I was talking to someone earlier about mountain flying, and it's different. I've never done it. In Alabama, they got, little hills and stuff like that. Nothing too crazy, nothing like out west and up north. So I'm definitely interested. I hear it's an experience, especially if it gets windy. You don't want to be up there, get all those winds and stuff rolling off the top. So I definitely want to do it. It's on my bucket list. Along with doing some bush flying. I want to drop in on a lake bed somewhere and, in the middle of
he's your
nowhere,
guy.
it's cool. Fly real low and stuff. Yeah. So I'm definitely interested in all of that. I think that'd be a cool experience, especially for someone like me who's just unfamiliar, with stuff like that. So
You should take your decathlon out there, and I bet at the very minimum, Kevin could coach you into a dry lake bed. I don't know about mountain flying in a decathlon, but
that'd be cool. Yeah, I may have to shoot him a private message or something like that and get with him.
You should do it and just tell him I sent you, and he can send me the referral.
There you go. There you go.
Okay, so meanwhile, before we wrap up for the night, this hour is blown by. Before we wrap up for the night, I think we might have your name. Oh, and Ricardo is mentioning that Aerobat is also the name of that aerobatic Cessna 150.
It is.
So you could do the only airshow routine in a Cessna Aerobat.
In a 150.
Yeah.
Hey, it's different though.
It would be different.
You don't see it. It's different. That's what it's all about.
I think we figured out your airshow name. 72 Papa came up with Mad Mel.
Ooh, I like that.
Steph Strickland likes that.
With these, Mad Mel, huh?
Yeah, she says like Thunderdome, but in the sky.
Cool.
There we go. We're making it happen. We're making it happen.
Some progress on the names.
Yeah, just right there.
A lot of these airshow guys like have like really cool names, like Greg Kuntz. That's a cool name,
But was it cool before Greg Kuntz, or did he make it cool?
You got me on that one.
I'm just saying.
You're right. Okay, fine. All right.
You build it and it fills itself in.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see where I'm at next year and stuff like that. But I'm gonna be kicking it into overdrive real shortly. December is gonna be a busy month. I'll probably try to fly at least 3 times a week, at an hour at a time, doing aerobatics and stuff like that. So the content, awesome. The videos, it's gonna be crazy, man. It's gonna be good stuff.
Last question before we do our wrap up game for the night. Yeah. I'm guessing you built up a tolerance. You don't get airsick. I vomit everywhere all the time.
I don't get sick. So a buddy of mine, he always clowns me every single time I post something upside down or I'm doing a loop or a spin and whatever. So you're gonna clown me for this. I hate roller coasters. It doesn't make any sense, and I can't explain it. But I hate roller coasters. I would go to a theme park, and people are like, "Oh man, let's get on that." I'm like, it's a little bit too high. No, that drop is too much, But I turn around that same night or same evening, afternoon, or whatever, and I'll go do a loop in an airplane, no problem. So I don't know what it is. Maybe it's a mental thing, because I think as a kid, I was like, terrified of roller coasters and rides and theme parks and stuff like that. So maybe it's a little bit of that. But it would take me convincing, maybe some bribery to get me on a roller coaster, but I'll jump into the Decathlon or Satabri and roll the hell out of it. It doesn't make any sense.
I have a collaboration idea. I'll come down by you, and then you can take me up in someone else's Decathlon, so I don't get sick in yours, and you can make me sick, right? And then I will take you on a roller coaster.
Oh my God!
Actually, here's the thing. I think I'm too old for roller coasters now. I like things that I used to be able to do. I can't. I don't know. I think when I turn, I'm older than 35. When I turn 35, I think that like. It's like the same time when it started to hurt to sleep as the same time that roller coasters weren't fun anymore.
That's funny as hell. Man, so one more thing I got to add. So you asked about G tolerance.
Yeah.
So so they say the more you, and I mean, I can attest to that. The more you pull G's, the more your body gets comfortable with it. It's just a thing. The more you do it. So if you haven't done it in a while, the G's may have an effect on you. So I had gone I'd gone to Dallas. When was it? November? October. It was last month. And I flew a S211 Marchetti.
Wait, did you send me a picture of that?
I might have. I think I did.
Is that what this thing is?
Let's see. Yes, that's it.
That thing's so dope.
That is it. Oh man, it's crazy. It's a really nice flying airplane. So it's a S211 Marchetti. I went flying. The guy's name is Chris in the photo, and he took me flying. He invited me out. Said, "Hey man, I got this great opportunity. Whatever I think you'd like it." Oh yeah, sure. So I flew to Dallas for the day, and we went for a ride, and it was awesome. I actually still putting some YouTube videos and stuff like that together flying this thing. But so he's showing me how to do rolls and loops and stuff like that. But actually, even before we get into that, he's like, "Hey, when's the last time you pulled some G's?" And I was like, not too long ago. He's like, "All right, well, we're gonna do something called a G warm." So he's going through, just making steep turns or like pulling maybe like 3.5 G's and stuff like that, just kind of get you, locked in and settled. So we do that. I did perfectly fine, no problem. Then we're doing loops. So he does a loop. I do one right after. And I'm pulling up into the loop, after I get some smash. I think we start the maneuver around like 300 knots. So anyway, so we pitch the nose down, 300 knots, and I'm pulling up. And I'm in the back, and I'm pulling. And it's crazy because, like, I start to get tunnel vision. That was actually the first time that happened. People talk about G-lock and stuff like that, pass. And I almost did. So I'm on the stick, and the only thing I saw was sunlight, and I let off the G's, in the pull, and everything came back. So he's like, "Hey man, you all right?" He's like, and I told him, I said, "Man, I almost passed out." He said, "No way." And I was like, "Yeah, I did." It was crazy. I had never, it was an interesting experience because those airplanes, they fly faster. And typically, you're pulling these G's for a longer period of time as opposed to, a Decathlon. It's just that initial 4G pull into the vertical and, going back around or whatever the case is. These airplanes, fly faster and you're, pulling G's for a longer period of time. So it's different. It feels different on the body. So that was an experience, but it was fun. So they're Victory Aviation down in Dallas. I think they're out of Denton. I forget the airport code for that, in Texas, just north of Dallas-Fort Worth. And they have a really cool operation up there. If you're interested, check them out. Victory Aviation, I think, is their Instagram, if you're looking or interested.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I've got a little bit of that. I don't know. I think I had a similar experience, but it was probably at a lot slower speed. I don't puke, just for the gals at home, like, I don't puke every time I get in the plane. It was just the one time, but now it's funny to talk about. It's just the once. Well, it was like 3 times in one flight, but it was just the once. All right, Mel, we got to wrap it up. We're over time. I didn't manage my time, and your time is important. Let's do You up for? Did I tell you about this? We got this game we play at the end of every show.
This is new.
Okay, this game's called Short Final. Minutes on the clock. I'm just gonna give you there are no right answers. You're fine. I'm not gonna ask you like you could answer that, no problem. But I'm not gonna like quiz you on 737 mechanic stuff. I'm just gonna ask you some questions. You just rattle off some answers. We'll have some fun. You up for it?
Yeah, let's do it, man.
Let's hit it. Get my music going. Yeah, here we go. All right, Mel, you're a 737 mechanic. What's the most invaluable tool a 737 mechanic can have?
Oh, God. A hammer.
A hammer. What was what's your favorite civilian aircraft that you've flown ever?
Favorite civilian aircraft that I've flown ever? Oh, I'd have to say a Decathlon.
That's fair. What about favorite airport you've ever landed at?
Ooh, favorite airport I've ever landed at? I'm gonna go with Peach State down in just south of me. Peach State Aerodrome is very popular now. Everybody goes there to eat and stuff like that. So
okay, rock on. What about favorite passenger you've ever had?
Favorite passenger, I'd have to say Major Hype. He's a Instagram comedian, and he's funny as hell. Got to go check him out. But we had a whole lot of fun.
Awesome. And last one, because
yes.
I should be keeping notes on this. I should be taking stats. Are you track up or are you north up?
Ooh, that's a good one. I am north up.
Me too. See?
I'm north up. It
Fast
screws
friends.
me up, man. I get in people's airplanes and I'm like, wait a minute, what's going on here? You know, and they're like, oh yeah. And I'm like, I don't fly like that. So I'm always north up, other than track up. Absolutely. Yeah.
Rock on. Cool. All right. See, we can be friends still. We can be friends still. I think last week it was like, oh, I've got one of each. It's like that would explode my brain.
Yeah. No. Nope.
Okay. On the topic of my brain exploding, dude, this has been awesome to finally connect with you and to have you on the show. Everyone in the chat, dude, thank you so much, everybody. It's been awesome. They're talking about
thank you.
They're talking about puking and hammers. The hammer thing, you won people over with the hammer thing, and now they're arguing about track up in North End. But Mel, dude, thank you so much for coming on the show tonight. I can't thank you enough. It was awesome to have you.
Problem at all. It was a blast, man. I would like to do it again at some point. You know, maybe like if I end up getting into air shows, man, we could talk about that. You know, later.
You are welcome here anytime, whenever you want. You can come on. You want to come on next week? Let's bump Tango and Juliet. And you and I can keep talking about.
No. We'll let them have their time. You know.
Awesome, dude. Thanks so much. All right, and everyone else, dudes. Next week. I guess because Mel didn't want to bump them, Tango and Juliet are going to be on. They're a newer channel, and I think you guys got to check them out. So we're going to talk about Pete and Poles and vintage aviation and landing at restaurants and all this cool stuff I've seen on their channel. Be sure to check that out. And dude, I love you guys. I love all of you. Let's see you next week.